Most of us approach Easter Sunday with a little fear and trepidation. And in an all right confession from the pastor, I will share with you that I approach Easter Sunday with a little bit of fear and trepidation. You see, we come together with this incredibly diverse community. We come into this space, and we hear again and again familiar texts, wonderful and rich music that both inspires and challenges us, that makes some of us think or question. We come into this space and we hear new life proclaimed in our midst. And we think, could this happen? And then we expect the pastor to expound and elaborate on this and give us something new that isn't cliche, something you haven't heard over the course of the last 10 or 20 or 85 years. And we look for some promise, rooted in this day that proclaims new life made known for us here and now. Some reason that what happened and what we commemorated and celebrated and the journey that we took over the last 40-some days speaks to us here and now. I remember being fearful on one of my first Sundays preaching on an Easter Sunday when I realized the number of families who were dragging their sons or daughters to Easter service, who had long ago given up on the church and didn't really necessarily buy into this whole understanding of resurrection. That made my job, my work for the community, a little more challenging, at least in my mind. And then I remember sitting down with families where one of the family members was Christian and the other Jewish. And knowing that on this Sunday, as the Christian High Holy Day, it would be the day in which a number of Jewish family members would be coming to the Easter service. And of course would be hit over the head again and again with the idea of this Jesus who is going to make a difference for our lives and the life of the world. And of course, for them too. And I struggled with that. What happens when we take on this notion of supersessionism, especially when we hear the texts that have come to us from the Gospel of John that have challenged us about the Judeans over the course of Holy Week, which oftentimes just gets simplified to say the Jews rather than the Judeans. And so we come into this space with all of those things, and we are wondering aloud and thinking through what this means today. But it was one of those Jewish men who came faithfully on Easter Sunday with his wife and his daughters. But when I asked him, how does this feel for you to be in this space, to hear these words? And he lit up with a smile. He said, I don't mind it at all. Because what I hear in this story, what I hear in this narrative, are the words of hope. They're the words of promise for a people. These are words of love. Now we celebrate and we honor and we lift them up in different ways. But at the end of the day, isn't that the story we want to tell our children and the world? That they have the opportunity to live in hope, in love, and in wonder. What a great gift. That has emboldened me on this Sunday because I do believe that whether we are in a church, a synagogue, a temple, or out on the streets, that we are longing for that narrative. We are longing for that story that changes and transforms our life. And like many of you, very likely I opened up my Sunday paper or looked at my Sunday paper today. And the picture of 615 runners, the story of 615 runners who are going back to Boston robust and strong. What is that story really about? Other than our community, our world, saying that in the face of fear, life overcomes. In the face of death, there is something stronger, that goodness is stronger than evil. That is a narrative that we proclaim and embrace. And when we think back to 9/11, and all of the fear and the wondering and the frantic phone calls and the loss of life, what is the memorial and the promise on the other side but that life overcomes anything that brings death and terror? And the list goes on and on when we talk about the life and witness of Oscar Romero, when we talk about the witness and the challenging words of Martin Luther King Jr. In all of these things, what we are proclaiming is that there is a story, a narrative, in which life and love, faith and hope are stronger. Stronger than anything this world can throw at us. And what an incredible witness and blessing. But when we come to this space, it is easy to be taken aback by fear, wondering, not knowing. We enter into this space, this precipice of how our lives have been and how they are going to be. And it is easy for us to stand and wonder, what does it mean for us?